Hi everyone, welcome to our live session today, and today we're going to be exploring the French macaron. And I know what some of you are thinking, those are kind of tricky. Maybe you've had luck making them, maybe you haven't, but if you can see my table here, I just have a few things, and it's really all it takes to do this classic favorite. They're so trendy. I think that they're here to stay. We see them here, we see them in France, in Europe, and in many shapes and sizes, and different flavors and textures too. So today we're going to be doing a fall macaron. So I've got a base that I'm going to be making with some spices, some cinnamon, some nutmeg, some allspice, and some clove. You could easily use the pumpkin pie spice that you're buying for your pies this time of year. Add a little bit of cinnamon to it. That would be perfect for this. And then I have a pumpkin buttercream that I made for filling. So typically the cookie itself, a lot of times it doesn't have a lot of flavor in it, and a lot of the flavoring and the uniqueness comes with the filling. So it's just limitless what you can do with these, and the technique is very basic. So I'm going to cover some of the basic points, and please let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So the base for the cookie is just a meringue. It's egg whites and granulated sugar. We're going to whip these to about a medium peak, and then I have sifted my almond flour and my powdered sugar, my confectioner sugar, and my spices in this bowl. So you really want to sift your ingredients. This is going to help with the smoothness on the top. What you can do too, some chefs do this, is they'll put this in the food processor and they'll pulse it for a couple of minutes, making it very, very powdery, and that's going to just give you that smoother texture on top of the macaron. Okay, so we're going to talk about mixing, then piping, and then baking, and then finishing. How does that sound? Okay, so you know, if you've made these before and they haven't turned out for you, don't be intimidated. Keep trying them again. I'm going to show you. It's so easy. So I've got my egg whites at room temperature, and I'm going to be whipping them to about medium peak with my granulated sugar. You want to make sure that your bowl is very clean and dry, and this way these are going to whip well for you. Okay, I don't turn it on really high, full blast, because it seems like any air that I'm whipping in is just kind of being whipped out. So I've got it like on a medium high speed. Once it becomes a little bit whiter, then I'm going to turn it up a little bit. So I hope that you guys can hear me over the mixer. Okay, so these egg whites are going to become frothy, and then they're going to become white, and then they're going to become thick. So there's a few stages. Keep in mind, if you've whipped whipped cream before, the egg whites are going to take longer than the whipped cream. You can whip them by hand, but stand mixer is much easier, as you can see. Okay, so we've got a little ways to go. One tip that I wanted to give you guys on the bowl and the whisk, some chefs will rub down the inside of the bowl with some vinegar and the whisk too to make sure that it's clean, and that acidity really helps with the whipping of the egg whites. Okay, so we're reaching frothy now. Okay, we're going to let them go. I know that some people think that they're ready at this point, but they really need to become a little bit more white. You can kind of see in the bottom of the bowl, you can see that they're still liquidy a little bit. So I'm going to turn it up just a notch, kind of help it out because we're, you know, in our show today. Okay, so they're looking great. We're looking for, like I said, about a medium peak. Okay, they're going to be very firm. You can see the firmness, and these are really holding their shape while they're coming around. They become much lighter in color. Okay, so they're looking pretty firm. I'm going to turn it off in just a minute, guys, okay? They have a nice thickness to them. You can kind of see how they evolve with the whipping of the air. Okay, I think that these look great. I think that they are perfect. Oh, I think I went the wrong way on the switch. Okay. All right. It's kind of hard when you're doing it backwards a little bit. Okay, so we have a, a nice medium firm peak on these. Okay. So guys, you want to be careful that you're not whipping these too long until they become a dry stage, because that's really going to affect the structure of the cookie. So right now the egg protein is what we would call denatured. It is taken out of its natural state and air is whipped in. When you completely denature this protein by making it dry and crumbly, it doesn't have the structure and the elasticity that it needs to help with that cookie's lift and volume. Okay, so don't go past, medium firm. If you're unsure, take it off sooner and check it out. If the peak is really soft, then you want to give it a little bit more time. Okay, guys, so we are going to mix these together. Okay, so we are going to be mixing the dry ingredients into the meringue that we made. I usually do about half, and we're folding this by hand. Don't do this on the machine because we want to save the air that we whipped in. A spatula that's large is really going to help with the surface area. So I'm just carefully mixing. Guys, it's going to look crumbly, and it's going to come together eventually for you, but really resist picking up a whisk or mixing this very roughly. Just keep folding and you'll get there. See, it's already turning into a batter right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add the rest of the dry ingredients. Okay, all right. Okay, so it smells delicious. You can see the specks from the cinnamon and spices. And it's really coming around. So like I said, just, all good things take time. So just keep folding, and it's coming together as a batter. Okay. And it looks beautiful. It has a nice thickness to it. I can see it's shiny. That's the sugar in here that's making it shiny. That gives it that wonderful taste. Okay. So we've got a little bit of streaking. So at this point, I start pressing out the air a little bit. Okay, so this is something that you're going to learn over time. You're going to learn how this batter should look. If you don't press out the air, your macarons may have a rounding to them. They may rise too much. We want them to stay flat. So if you find that that's the case, you know that you just need to press out a little bit more air. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of pressing the air out on the sides. Okay, and I'm still being gentle. I'm turning my spatula around. Okay, so I've lost enough of the fluff, and it's looking a little bit more loose. You can kind of see how it changed appearance a little bit. Okay, so nextly we're going to pipe. Okay, so I have a pan prepared with a silpat. You can use baking parchment as well. Okay. I'm using a large round tip. This is Echo number 806. You can use number 804 as well, and you want something large, okay, because when you're squeezing, you're pushing out some of that air. And guys, too, I recommend the batter, once you make it, pipe it, and then you're going to be baking it. You don't want to leave this batter sit because it's just going to keep deflating, and then you could end up with some macarons that are really flat. Okay. All right, so we're going to pipe these in a circular shape, about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Okay, they do make mats that are guides that have circles on them. Those are fine too. But what if you're in a commercial kitchen and you have to make like 300 or 400? I don't think you're going to have that that many mats. But those are great for training and practice. Okay, you can also make circles on your parchment and then turn it over and use that for a guide as well. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to carefully pipe these about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, and trying to make them, mostly the same size, the best that I can. And I'm just kind of turning a little bit so I don't get a little tail on there. I like to pipe from the side. You can pipe from the top, whatever way is easier for you. If you get little tails, you can dip your finger in water and smooth them out. Okay. All right. So like I said, for a very smooth top, you can put your powdered sugar and your almond flour in a food processor and make it very smooth. Okay, so the next step is really key here. We need to leave these sit out for about an hour before we bake them, because the tops need to start to dry a little bit, and that's how you're going to get that classic smoothness on here. So just leave them out on the counter to dry for at least 45 minutes. An hour is much better. If you are in a humid climate, it may take a little bit longer. Okay, you're going to bake them at 320 degrees, and it's a little bit lower than normal temperature for about in between 15 and maybe 17 or 18 minutes. What I like to do when mine are just reaching like that 15 or 16 mark, I'll turn the oven off and I'll leave them in there for another minute, and then I'll even cool them in the oven with the door cracked. So if you're having problems with crinkling on top, that could be because you didn't leave them sit out before you long enough before you bake them, or maybe your climate is just very humid. So try that little trick to leave them cool off in the oven with the door open, and I think that you're really going to like that. Okay, so once these are cooled, we once they're baked and cooled, we're going to fill them, and this is where the fun part comes in. Okay, so I have some that I baked earlier, and they're cool enough, and as you can see, I put these on parchment, and you know, they're coming off just fine. Okay, so they have these classic little feet on them. Okay, and you can put sprinkles on them. I put some sprinkles on that weren't oven proof, so those didn't work very well, but these kind of look nice, and they'll kind of bake in a little bit too, so that's kind of fun as well. So you can decorate these too. You could pipe royal icing on them and then let them dry, and you could have some very decorative cookies. So what you want to do is, as you can see, I've got a couple that are a little bit bigger than the others, so I kind of pair them up with the ones that match. So I think I'll pair my my cookies that have the leaves on them together. And I've got some buttercream that I made earlier with pumpkin. So I used some unsalted butter, powdered sugar, some cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove, and I put a little bit of canned pumpkin. Okay, I accidentally grabbed the wrong pack, so don't want to fill the macaroon with the macaroon batter, right? Okay, so I've got my pumpkin buttercream, which is really beautiful. So I'm just going to pipe a little bit in here, and then we'll sandwich these together. Okay, guys, so they're super cute. You could fill these with so many things. You could even make a pumpkin cream cheese icing. You could flavor it with a little pineapple, coconut, something like that, for something really unique. And you could even use chocolate, like a fudge icing or a chocolate buttercream, or even a chocolate ganache. So aren't they beautiful? They're so cute. Okay, and keep in mind, if you have a bakery and you're selling these, you can get a good dollar for them, that's for sure. And they take time, and you have almond flour, which is one of the most expensive ingredients, and you can make your own almond flour too by taking a sliced almond or even a whole almond, and you can pulse it in a food processor until it becomes the almond flour. So you may want to do that once or twice, just so you're familiar with it, in case maybe you don't have almond flour one day and you have to make your own. But that will cut down on cost as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fill a couple more. And these are beautifully dry, and they have that classic little crinkled foot on the bottom. Okay, and guys, if you're having trouble with too much flatness, it could be that you don't leave them sit out long enough before baking them. But absolutely have fun with these little guys. They're great. You could even make them a little bit larger, and you could do a single plated dessert. You could layer it for your filling. You could do raspberries and chantilly cream, or raspberries and maybe chocolate mousse, and then decorate it. So this would make a very unique plated dessert if you made these maybe about 2.5 inches big or even larger. So please, if you haven't had luck with these, try them again. And if you've had luck with them, explore different flavors and colors, and it's just very limitless what you can do with this small cookie, and they are delicious too. Okay, guys? And they look beautiful plated. The classic French macaron. Okay, guys, so thanks a lot for coming out today, and we'll see you next time. Okay, goodbye.